Looking at question in the section C of your prelims, question 5A part 1. Okay, 5A part 1, you're asked to describe the distribution of the volcanoes only. Okay, so all of you managed to talk about volcanoes only. So when we ask you to look at describe the distribution of something, please always remember to analyze where they are first. Okay, so maybe I use red pen. Volcanoes are the triangle, so I will just mark out where are they. Okay, so most of you have picked out that there's a lot of them around the Pacific Ocean. Okay, so a lot of you found out about this and about this. Okay, and about this. And some of you picked out that there are also at divergent plate boundaries. And there are also some within the continent as well. Okay, so what's the encompassing one? All right, I guess the most encompassing one will be looking at this group, and all the convergent plate boundaries here. Okay, so maybe the most encompassing one will be so for 3 marks, what must you do, right? Please give me the general distribution. That means where almost everything, almost the majority of it, what pattern does it follow? Okay, next, back it up with a specific distribution. You can give me 2 locations, or you can tell me things like where is the biggest group, where's the smallest group. Either one is fine. Okay, and lastly, if there is anomalies, please tell me the anomalies. Okay, now general distribution, most of you could tell me some things. We accept different kinds. Basically, you must make sure that it is a coherent set. Now, what do I mean by that? Okay, so for example, some of you say that it's found at both convergent and divergent plate boundary. Okay, then we can tell us that the most is the Pacific Ring of Fire. This is a term that you should be using. Okay, Pacific Ring of Fire. Okay, and then the least, maybe you can pick some of the ones on the plate boundaries, like the one at Mid-Atlantic reach. I think it's like between the North American and Eurasian plate. Okay, now anomalies, since my general is both convergent and divergent, then my anomaly will be either transform or not at plate boundary. Okay, so I don't have any volcanoes that transform plate boundary. This one, some of you said this is the one, but hello, is the volcanoes over here, not here. Okay, so maybe I'll pick this one, African plate. Okay, so small cluster of volcanoes at African in the middle of away from plate boundaries at African plate. Okay, if you can specify where is Africa on the African plate. Okay, now some of you don't talk about convergent and divergent. Some of you say it's mostly only convergent with subduction or something like that. Okay, so if this is the case, then what you bring up must be only convergent for the general and specific. Okay, then the anomalies can be about this one or the one that's away from plate boundary. Okay, or small cluster at divergent plate boundary between Eurasian and North American. Okay, so which pattern you choose, as long as it makes sense, we give it to you. Okay, now some of you said the general is only Pacific Ring of Fire. All right, not very encompassing of this part as well. Okay, and of course, some of you said Pacific plate is around the Pacific plate. So misconception, some say it's around the Pacific plate, but Pacific plate is only here. Okay, as you can see, the Pacific Ring of Fire is not just the Pacific plate. In fact, it's referring to the ring that surrounds the Pacific Ocean. Okay, the whole ocean, and of course this part of Indonesia as well. Okay, so now this time we accept a case where some of you just name drop places. Like for example, volcanoes are found at Nazca and South American plate. Volcanoes are found between African and Eurasian plate. Okay, but you didn't go on to describe. You should be using adjectives like, is this the longest, is this the shortest, or biggest, or least, or things like that. Okay, now some other things that you all must take note. Number one, there's a lot of misconceptions about fault lines. Fault lines are huge cracks on Earth. Okay? Now, fault lines may not be plate boundaries. Fault lines may be a case where due to a lot of tensional or tensional forces on the crust, it breaks into cracks and form faults. Okay? Or it could be also, it can also be compressional forces, they squeeze it so hard that the crust cracks and form huge cracks are actually faults. Okay? But they are not plate boundaries necessarily. Alright, so please use the term that is given to you, and even if there's no figure, please try to use the term plate boundary. Okay, next, many of you can talk about anomalies, but please start your sentence with however. When you write however, it is very clear to the examiner that whatever you wrote as however would be different from the above. Okay, so it will be very clear to the examiner that you meant this as anomalies, not specific or general. Alright, so make it clear. Okay, as I mentioned about adjectives, okay, some of you just name drop like continental and ocean, because some of you said that it's found mostly at between convergent plate boundaries between oceanic plate and something else. Okay, then you just said, for example, it's found at the convergent plate boundary between Alaska and South America. But if your general is about oceanic plates, then can you please at least identify which is the oceanic plate? Okay, because when we give specific distributions, we are giving more details about the general. So if we use certain terms in general, we need to repeat them in specific to back up our general. Alright, and lastly, a lot of you called Eurasian plate as continental plate at this plate boundary, or Indo-Australian as continental at this plate boundary. Okay, I know that there's a lot of they have a continental crust, but at that specific plate boundary is actually oceanic crust. Then at this specific plate boundary is oceanic crust. Okay, so if you worry that you're calling the plate wrong, then just say that at that plate boundary you see what kind of crust, oceanic or continental. Okay, so generally there's a good improvement from the whole cohort, but all these small things, please take note. This is one of your weaknesses. Okay.